This is leadership DNA, where success is not admired from a distance but dissected at close range. Because extreme wealth is rarely accidental. It is constructed, layer by layer, risk by risk, decision by decision. Across continents and cultures, beneath different political systems and economic climates, the anatomy of daring investment leadership reveals a recurring pattern: early movement, strategic aggression, psychological resilience, and the courage to scale before certainty arrives. Tonight, we travel across 7 regions of the world, not to romanticize billionaires, but to examine how they built structures that now influence markets, nations, and industries. From Africa's industrial corridors to North America's skyline battles, from Asia's algorithmic revolutions to Europe's empires of luxury, from Latin America's infrastructure plays to Oceania's fintech disruption and the Middle East's digital commerce awakening, the dream changes but the DNA does not. We begin in Africa. In the bustling commercial landscape of Kano, North Nigeria, long before oil refineries and cement plants bore his name, Aliko Dangote understood the mechanics of trade. As a child, he bought sweets in bulk and resold them to classmates. It was simple commerce, yet it revealed an early instinct: value is created in movement and margin. But Dangote's genius was not in trading alone. It was in recognizing structural weakness within African economies. Nigeria and much of West Africa were heavily dependent on imports for basic commodities: cement, sugar, rice. That dependency represented vulnerability. Dangote made a decision that would define his legacy. He would move from trading goods to manufacturing them. Through the expansion of the Dangote Group, he built cement plants across multiple African nations, vertically integrated supply chains, and invested billions into refining capacity. His refinery project was not simply a business venture, it was a strategic attempt to alter Africa's balance of trade. Dangote did not chase volatility. He built infrastructure. And infrastructure confers power because it controls bottlenecks. When you control bottlenecks, you influence pricing. When you influence pricing, you shape economies. His wealth is not merely financial, it is structural. Across the Atlantic, another figure emerged from a very different environment yet displayed an equally audacious appetite for scale. Donald Trump entered real estate through his father's business, but he quickly demonstrated that inheritance alone does not guarantee dominance. Manhattan was the epicenter of American financial prestige, and Trump set his sights there. Through the Trump Organization, he pursued high-profile developments that doubled as symbols. Trump's strategy extended beyond bricks and steel. He recognized that brand visibility could be monetized as aggressively as physical assets. His name became a licensing instrument. Skyscrapers became marketing tools. Media appearances became deal accelerators. Even when debt pressures mounted and corporate bankruptcies threatened his empire, he negotiated, restructured, and reemerged. His approach revealed a different dimension of investment leadership. Perception itself can be capital. In modern capitalism, narrative compounds opportunity. If Dangote controlled physical infrastructure and Trump leveraged brand infrastructure, then Zhang Yiming mastered digital infrastructure, working from a modest apartment in Beijing. Zhang founded ByteDance with a thesis rooted in data science. Human attention, he believed, could be mapped, predicted, and optimized. The creation of TikTok was not accidental. It was algorithmic precision applied to human curiosity. Unlike earlier social platforms that depended primarily on personal networks, Zhang focused on behavioral signals. What you watched, paused, replayed, kept each microaction fed the algorithm. Attention became measurable. Engagement became scalable. And valuation followed. Zhang's rise illustrates that in the 21st century, those who control attention flows command extraordinary capital leverage. In Europe, a quieter but equally formidable strategist was building a different type of empire. Bernard Arnault began in construction but pivoted toward something far more enduring: aspiration. Through systematic acquisitions, he assembled LVMH, consolidating iconic luxury brands under one financial architecture. Arnault's brilliance lay in understanding that luxury is not merely about products. It is about controlled scarcity and emotional positioning. He preserved brand identities while centralizing capital efficiency. Creative autonomy was protected. Supply chains were optimized. Distribution expanded globally. By treating prestige as an appreciating asset class, Arnault built one of the most powerful conglomerates in modern capitalism. His leadership demonstrates that emotional monopolies can be more durable than industrial ones. Further south, amid economic turbulence and privatization reforms, Carlos Slim executed one of the most decisive infrastructure acquisitions of the late 20th century. When Mexico privatized its telecommunications sector, he acquired control of Telmex. Many saw risk. He saw inevitability. Communication infrastructure would only become more indispensable. Slim invested in modernization, expanded coverage, and leveraged dominant market positioning. His strategy reflected counter-cyclical discipline: invest heavily when others retreat. Infrastructure monopolies, once stabilized, generate recurring cash flow. Slim's wealth was not built on speculative waves but on durable network control. In Oceania, a younger generation of investor emerged, attuned not to heavy industry or legacy brands but to consumer behavior shifts. Nick Molnar observed that traditional credit models alienated younger buyers. He co-founded Afterpay, reframing debt as flexible installment payments. The innovation was subtle yet transformative. Purchasing friction decreased. Merchant adoption increased. Growth accelerated internationally until the company was acquired by Block Inc. In a multi-billion-dollar transaction, Molnar's rise reveals a contemporary truth: modern fortunes often emerge from redesigning financial psychology rather than owning physical assets. Behavioral finance has become fertile ground for capital expansion. Finally, in the Middle East and Asia's digital awakening, Jack Ma demonstrated that belief can precede balance sheets. Rejected from numerous jobs and lacking technical training, Ma nonetheless recognized the coming wave of internet-enabled commerce. He founded Alibaba Group to empower small businesses with global reach. Trust mechanisms, payment platforms, logistics partnerships, each layer addressed a friction point in emerging market commerce. Ma's achievement was not simply technological, it was cultural. He normalized online transactions in environments where trust barriers were high, by building digital marketplaces rooted in community participation. He turned skepticism into participation and participation into scale. Across these 7 investors, a pattern crystallizes. Each moved early, before clarity. Each controlled a form of infrastructure: physical, digital, financial, emotional, or perceptual. Each scaled aggressively during uncertainty. Each understood that capital flows toward those who solve structural problems at scale. Wealth at this magnitude is not spontaneous combustion. It is architecture. It is the deliberate stacking of strategic decisions under conditions of ambiguity. Dangote industrialized supply chains, Trump monetized narrative and visibility, Zhang engineered attention, Arnault consolidated aspiration, Slim secured communication infrastructure. Molnar reshaped payment behavior, Ma democratized digital commerce. Different continents, different industries, same internal code. They did not wait for perfect conditions. They acted. Under incomplete information, they scaled before consensus. That is the leadership DNA, not blind risk, not reckless ambition, but disciplined audacity. If you study these structures carefully, you begin to see that leadership in capital markets is less about luck and more about positioning ahead of structural shifts, ahead of public comfort, ahead of hesitation. This is leadership DNA, where power is examined, not idolized. Decode the structure. Build deliberately. Lead before permission. And understand this: wealth follows those who are willing to architect the future while others are still analyzing the present.